If that is the case, that people need to stay in some form of education, be it the normal public school system that we have or other, even if it's not the public school system, people's aspirations are still different. Not everyone lives in a place where there are these sorts of work schemes. These things haven't already been put into place. I asked the opponent if anyone's actually looked this up, but a majority of people who drop out of school aren't actually living in inner city areas. There aren't always office jobs available, places where people have and can go on training courses. These things aren't available. Perhaps incentive systems have failed in the sense that making children think that school is fun or whatever has failed. But actually bringing these things, actually bringing apprenticeships to the people who actually need them, hasn't actually occurred. And until that occurs, how can you tell people that if you drop out of school early, if you do not stay in some sort of form of education, we will punish you for it? Then surely it's highly naive to say that even though we haven't put these things in place, that you can expect people to go to things that aren't there. What's more, as I said to James said earlier, he believes that we're going to set up a new sort of prison for children. Now, you told us many times that you believe that that you seem to be tiptoeing around this. You tell us that, in fact, firstly, we're going to put in disciplinary measures. If you put people into prison, that is criminalising them, literally. You're setting up entire new prisons. That shows that you do plan to put a significant amount of people in. And as you said, there are a lot of people who play truant. And for these reasons, I urge you to oppose this naive and arrogant motion.
I'd now like to move over to the summary speeches, and I'd like to call on the opposition to make the first. Thank you.
So, ladies and gentlemen, what have the opposition told you today? We've told you that truants do not necessarily, and in most cases, do not work well in school. Therefore, they should not necessarily be forced to learn or even to work. Many teenagers have hard lives, let's face it. They're in the period of their lives that is often a mess. They often face difficult situations at home, relationships with their parents. We say let them sort it out, let them take responsibility by themselves, let them learn valuable life lessons, and then go out and work, do an open university course, apprenticeship scheme, whatever. Forcing them into education, we say, will achieve nothing. And as we've mentioned before, you cannot educate those who do not want to be educated. We've also told you that the proposition is criminalising our youth. As Ben said, they want to arrest and imprison people in correctional facilities, yet they don't want to give them a criminal record. That does not make any sense. And as we've seen in the case of the ASBO scheme, criminalising young people early on in life does nothing beneficial. It angers them, it alienates them, it causes them to do things that they wouldn't ordinarily do because of their anger at the establishment. The proposition, constantly throughout this debate, has been defeating themselves. And finally, we've told you that logistically this scheme cannot be implemented. We've told you that it's logistically extremely difficult for the overstretched police force, for the overstretched criminal justice system, to be sending through truants into correctional facilities and fining them, giving them the many warnings as the proposition has proposed. It's simply unworkable, and for those reasons we urge you to oppose this extremely irresponsible, naive and unworkable motion. Thank you.
I'd now like to pass over to the proposition.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Just to deal with some things that Ben raised, he seemed to think that all businesses were clustered in cities. Now, obviously, anyone who's gone outside the M25 knows that there are businesses outside cities and people can find apprenticeships there. So that doesn't make much sense. Raphael says we should let people take things at their own pace. But we've done that, and look what we've seen, a decrease in trend of the working class demographic taking up jobs. It isn't working. They've said young people, we're removing young people's choice about their future. We are not. As I stated in my proposal, we're giving them a variety of paths. They're not all classroom-based, that they can take and they can use to fulfill their lives. And then we had this quite ridiculous proposal that adult training courses would be sufficient. Now, we have adult training courses. Everyone's seen the adverts. But what they ignored was the fact that these people, by the time that they take these courses up, will probably have had children. And what kind of environment will those children have been born into? Not one where their parents have achieved, not one where their parents have reached a decent educational standard. And what are these children going to go on to do having been born in that environment? I think, and as I stated before, it will lead to crime. We had this repeated assertion that truants do not work well in the classroom, and as we did state, not all of our policies are classroom-based. And then Raphael said, in his final speech, that we should not encourage youngsters to work. We should let them acquire life skills. Now, we believe on the proposition that the two are not mutually exclusive. And if you don't want to encourage young people to work, what do you want to encourage them to do? We suggest to you that all that encourages them to do is rely on the state, which is even more dangerous than them gaining their own initiative. And angering young people, as we stated, this is a different environment, this is not long-term, and these are specialist facilities. So me and David have talked to you about the nature of the economy, the influx of migrants, the importance of engendering responsibility, and so we urge you to propose the motion.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, gentlemen. This has been a very informative debate, and I'm sure the judges will be informing you sometime soon of their deliberation.
I just want, at the end of this particular final, to thank our audience for coming today, to thank our chair, and our judges, Ms Samuels and Ms Bennett, who've given up many lunchtimes to do the various stages of the competition. So if we could have a warm round of applause for them. Last, of course, and not least, many thanks to all you boys. The fact that you're here in the finals, you've had some difficult victories to win, and it's been very interesting listening to a very difficult motion, hence chosen for the final. We have this lovely cup here, which is the one that's going to be awarded. We're not going to put pressure on the judges just now. I want you to see this, and you will be awarded that in due course. So I bring these proceedings to an end. Thanks very much.
Can I interject to say a big thank you to Mr Wingate as well for organising all of this?
Thanks very much for coming.